way, but we're going ahead and start these supervisors workshop. Anybody's got any cell phones, let's get those turned off. I make a motion to allow Flavia to fully participate in this meeting remotely due to exceptional circumstances.
Second.
Second. Thank you.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Flavia, you're on.
Thank you.
This meeting is predominantly all relative to the Parks and Recreation. Who's going to?
I'll start and
Start
then Laura can explain the numbers. So at the last meeting, last time we discussed Parks and Rec, the board requested expenses, revenues, our net numbers, where we're at. What you see attached, this is a duplicate that has been on multiple meetings now. These are just some of the capital project discussions that we've had in the past. I know I talked to Mr. Senior this afternoon. The board hasn't officially made a decision on the artificial turf. I know we've kind of talked about it a couple times, but you know, we've all kind of said, or at least staff has recommended that if we do anything, we go with natural, but I don't know if we can put that to bed at some point and just say we're nixing artificial for any decisions and we'll proceed with natural. But I'll just kind of recap some of the capital projects that we have up here. We have the Sherman Soccer Complex parking lot expansion, which, as you know, is converting this back basically where the dog park is into a parking lot to mirror the back parking lot for the additional need. That's in design. We actually got the interlocal, different project. We are applying for the permits, so that's going to take however long it takes to get through the county's process. The lights at the pool, that.
Can we take these one at a time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And where is the dog park? I know the dog park's going to go to the commons, but where at the commons is it going?
Kind of towards the back, abutting the FPL easement, and then like the corner where the pond and the FPL
You mean
easement.
the revised, removed, relocated?
Yes.
Dog park. Yeah, it's phase 3. That's in the back right corner.
Yes.
But
How close is that to a parking lot?
It's a hike.
Distance.
It's a hike. Yeah, but the dog can get exercise.
the owners need it. The location of the one that's here for the Sherman parking lot, though, that's where the dog park is currently.
Yes.
And two questions, how many spaces do we need, and how many does this provide?
So need, that depends on the use of the fields, but if you come out here on a Saturday, I mean, I came out here a couple Saturdays ago and the school parking lot was completely packed. Our parking lots were packed and they were parked every which way.
So this is not going to solve the problem.
It's going to help the exacerbated problem that we have now.
This exacerbated problem that we've had for years.
Yes.
It's nothing new.
Correct.
I was just trying to find out is if we need 300 spaces, is this providing 300 or is it providing something less? And it sounds like it's less.
It's essentially mirroring the back parking lot. It's going to just flip-flop. I think it's like 140 some spaces that it's going to add.
Heck of a lot of money, $500,000. And it's not a need.
Well, I'm assuming that
For a
part of
day of
that
the
is
week.
drainage.
Yes,
You've got to have drainage.
it is drainage. It's,
No, but if we don't do anything, I mean, just leave the parking like it is, we save $500,000.
Okay, so I'm gonna say this.
Is
We're
it-
talking about sorry guys, we're talking about liability. I'm the one that literally drives that every weekend. It is either if we choose not to do anything, we then have to limit it, the parking, and enforce the parking because it is a safety issue. And I can tell you, I have taken a couple of videos and I have partnered with Chelsea. Like kids will run across the street. They're parking like by the fence. Like there is no, you cannot visually see the kids in between the cars. You cannot see the cars. They're parking on the lake maintenance easement on the LME on that pond. So if we choose to do nothing, for me, it's a true safety issue. And I truly feel like we're opening the door for liability. We're going to have to then, you know, give them an X amount of cars that can go in there and nothing more. But I agree with Chelsea, the entire school parking lot, you know, it's usually full, the front one. I don't think they're utilizing the back. And then they're utilizing the LME. They're utilizing both sides of the grass area on Soccer Drive. And sometimes in front of the actual CDD gate, they'll park there as well.
And they've been doing it for 20 years, Chelsea. I mean, what's new? This isn't
Well,
new.
well, Flavia, it's not new,
Sorry.
but the amount of people that are utilizing now those programs are a lot more than 20 years ago. So I don't want to go into the mindset that because we didn't expand, that doesn't mean that there was never a need. I think we're just a lot sharper board and a lot more in tune what the actual needs are, Bob. So because we didn't do it and because we didn't have it, that does not mean that there was never a need. Again, my biggest thing is safety. So I truly believe that the parking lot will be a need. And even though it could be a need plus capping the amount of users, which then will cut our profit, or, if we're trying to get more money and we're going to suddenly tell the people you can only have this many cars, they may choose not to come with us. So we have to be really careful with that. But it is a safety issue on my eyes. And I at least twice a month or 2 weekends, I will go there. I will drive through Soccer Drive. I just don't pass by. It is a problem.
Well, if you want to look at a safety issue, go to any of the schools and the roads and the way people park outside. We tolerate that too. We don't like it. But we're talking about
Well,
spending $500,000.
We don't
The
control
area-
that, right? We don't control that. So we have no control of
Well,
Gateway
all I'm saying
Boulevard.
is there's a lot of
So
safety
here we
issues.
do. Yeah.
The area to the east of it where we were going to build the building and we nixed that, what's that being used for?
Grass.
Would that be able to be used as parking if,
We had originally designed all of that for parking, but the cost was so astronomical, we said, let's look at this in a phased approach.
what about it being an overflow grass parking lot?
That's something we could consider, yes.
Now that I could support, not doing anything, but just making it available like we do at baseball parks and things like that.
Yeah,
Because
they
the
do over
the
by-
usage is very, very minimal.
Like in JetBlue,
Yeah.
they use that as overflow parking. Okay, anybody else have anything else? on-
I'll support that too. I mean, I'm not saying that has to be paved. I support that if it's going to be just a grass area with the bumpers, I'm fine with that too. I'm just saying that there's a need. How are we going to do it? In the cost, that's a different conversation, but there's a need for that. So I totally support a grass area for that as well.
Just one comment on the grass piece. Do we know if that's something that the county will permit? Oftentimes, the county requires.
Say it again.
Oftentimes, the county requires stabilized surfaces for parking from a land development code standpoint. And so if the idea is to use the grass lot as an overflow, I would suggest, I don't know who's designing the parking lot.
Well, They're
Tetra
using
Tech.
over there at the county, they're just using
But-
soccer field.
But they most likely were approved as part of their original development order for overflow and having the subsurface and stabilized grass.
There's always the option to go into it and ask them to do it. Okay. anything else?
$50,000 or even 100,000, it's a whole lot better than $500,000.
Better than $500,000.
For the record, Doug just got
Lights
here.
at the pool.
Okay, this next item, we did receive a price from Musco Lighting, which they specialize in this type of thing, but by adding a light at the pool, we would be able to expand our hours. Right now, per law, we have to close 30 minutes before sunset. If we added the light to the pool, we would be able to expand the use, especially this time of year when it gets dark at, 4:30, 5 o'clock.
Questions?
How many lights are we talking about?
One.
$80,000 for one
Well,
light?
it's got to be tall and then it has multiple heads on it. And permitted and designed and engineered. That's all inclusive.
But
I have
that
a
also means that
question.
we got a whole bunch of other O&M expenses associated with being able to go to those extra hours, correct?
It would be staff time.
Chelsea, I have a question. So are you
What's up?
talking about like a street light?
It's kind of like the ball field lights that are over here.
So it's a single light with multiple heads.
Mhm.
Single
Why
pole.
can't we why can't we just, because I think we talked about that before, that during the FPL project to look into adding additional street lights on that area, which will be nowhere near $80,000.
Well, we're not talking about street lights, though. We're talking about activity lights, correct?
Yes.
Yes, but you'll be able to utilize street lights or the lumens. If she's telling me it's just on the pool, it's not going to be anything outside of the pool because the pool is what needs to be lit,
We would-
right, Chelsea?
Correct, but the problem is with that is we'd have to give them an easement over that, and that would go, I don't know. I mean, we can look into it, we can ask the question, absolutely. I know that there's a lot of rules with the lumens and lighting with pools, because you don't want to cast shadows in the event that something happens to somebody in the water. At least that's what I learned during this process of quoting this, but we can absolutely ask FPL and see if that's something that they would consider. But no matter what you would do, an easement would have to be required to be given to them, and we do have the pool lines running in this area.
I just question why we need to be having operations of the pool at night when we're losing money big time right now with that,
Absolutely.
with that pool.
I
Absolutely.
agree with that.
Well, the only thing I would say to that is when the new amenities go up,
If the new amenities go up.
whatever, at enhancing the pool hours could potentially benefit the whole infrastructure. I'm not saying that it's worth it or not. I'm just saying that if we're looking at the park as an entity, it may be worth
What we
having
committed to
conversation.
it this time doesn't come near the pool, correct?
No, the playground is right outside of the pool.
Okay, but the playground won't be used in the dark, at least shouldn't be. Kids are going to play the playground during the daytime.
I could understand and see the need for security light, a simple security light.
We
But a
have-
light to extend service, I have a real problem, especially after reading the minutes of the Park and Recreation Committee when I about boiled after I read the first sentence. Mr. Runyon provided an overview of recreational facilities and access policies, noting the pool allows residents and their guests to use the pool facility for free. That's how we're going to operate it. I'm totally opposed to this thing. If these people are not going to pay and we're not collecting the money, as far as I'm going to shut it down.
Hey, Ed,
This is
can you
ridiculous.
say
We've
that,
talked
can you
about
say
this
that
100
again?
times, and if people are using that pool and we are not contesting them and they're using it for free and they are not residents of Gateway, then that tells me we don't know how to operate a park and recreation facility. It's that simple. That can't happen.
So
That
Ed,
can't
I just,
happen.
Ed, I just want to make sure I heard it. So people are using the pool that they're non-residents and they're not paying the yearly fee? Is that what you said?
Ed, why don't you read it again for her?
Yeah, this was I just looked at the PrAC committee minutes from the November the 4th to see just exactly what their position is on some of this stuff. And under overview of recreational facilities and access policies, Ms. Runyon, I don't know, that's evidently one of the members, provided an overview of recreational facilities and access policies, noting the pool allows residents and their guests to use the facility for free.
Isn't that what we have today? You're allowed to bring your guests and there's no charge for a
No.
guest?
I believe the conversation that we had was residents will be free and anybody that's outside, they would pay the fee. And then we talked about how are we going to enforce that because we no longer have Tim Holland, which used to stay at the pool 20, the entire shift pretty much. And I questioned that. How are we going to support that? Because they go to the pool, 15 minutes, maybe 4 times a day?
Well, the question I've got is this is just scratching the surface of the big question is, how are we going to handle this when we get that $2.5 million park deal done? Because there's going to be people wanting to use that pickleball and those other amenities and they don't live here in this community.
You better believe it.
And I am absolutely, totally opposed of spending one dime that is used for people that live outside here for free. I pay
let
enough
me
of that in
ask-
taxes and that crap that I watched in the elections the last 3 days. I don't need no more of that crap.
So I think there's
So
I'll vote
there's
no on
three
that.
categories that have to be defined. One is resident use, resident and guest use, and non-resident, non-guest use. Those are the 3 categories that we have to define.
But Doug, I don't think that's the
Okay.
question, not the definite, we know who's resident, who's not, whatever. How do you enforce it?
Well, no, well,
How do
first
you-
is the policy. First is the policy, and then enforcement is the second piece. Now, the
Well, I think the
value.
enforcement,
Well-
you've got to have that hand in hand
Yeah.
with what it
No,
is.
I don't disagree, but I
You
think
gotta know you gotta
enforcement.
have a
Enforcement will be a hell of a lot easier when the admin building gets put up. And then we can talk about park employees being able to regulate, provide oversight because they would be on site. I mean, we have some on site today, but it would be different because they'll be based either out of the admin building or we'd have, a hub set up either at the pool or somewhere else.
Well, I think to everyone's point here, and Doug, you hit the nail on the head. We've operated under an assumption and having a policy in place that if you're a resident, you're not allowed to bring your guests. I don't care if your cousin from Indiana flew in, it's going to cost you or your guests to come in. That needs to be defined by this board.
Okay, so Chelsea, I want to add to this. I don't know if everybody can remember the conversation we had when we were doing the structuring of the fees. I brought it up that we can do, and I think Doug may recall it, the daily usage fee for things like that, because somebody's not going to come in for, a one-time use. They're visiting, they're not going to pay the $70 or $100 that we charge, but they would pay a daily use for that day. But then you mentioned that we would have restrictions because how would they pay for it? Because you would have to have a credit card or something like that. Then we asked you to look in within Facilitron that if that's the case, could they do a one-time payment for a single day use of the pool on Facilitron? I don't think we got an answer on that.
And that's what we're working towards is Carrie and the Pratt Committee are evaluating these types of systems that we can have a point of sale on an iPad there. Right now, we don't have that capability unless they're sitting at a computer. So providing and suggesting a robust, I think you guys at Pelican have a type of program like this where you can sign up for different time slots for the pickleball courts, but we're looking at this as more of a membership. They can get their membership and their access pass tied into one system. And then if they do have a guest that attends, they can pay a daily rate, a weekly rate, a monthly rate, a yearly rate, whatever that may be. I know PRAC did discuss at the last meeting, $240 to be the year rate if they wanted a year pass. I believe that's if more than what our residents pay in your annual tax or non-ad valorem assessments. So these are all discussions that are ongoing at the PRAC level and with staff at these types of programs, because again, the policy is not a written policy. It's kind of just been how we've been operating, but these are all questions that have come up as we're anticipating this park to open. Because people are going to want to play pickleball. They're going to want to come from outside of the community, and do we want to allow them, and at what cost? So the fee schedule numbers, we're looking at comps at what other people do, but then also evaluating what our burden is going to be.
Well, I would rather defer and certainly not put any money up right now until we learn more, until we know what our building's going to do and we know what the first section of the recreational facilities is going to do, and then address some of these. We're too far down the road to spend $80,000 for a light.
And to me, there's a couple things here. One, we have to look at the facility as a whole. What is the intent of use, and what is the benefit to the community, and what is the opportunity for revenue? So when we think about that, if we're daytime operations versus nighttime operations, if we're going to put lights, and I can't remember if we agreed we're putting lights on the new amenities, the pickleball.
Yes, we are.
Okay, so if you're going to provide lights for the pickleball and not for the pool, that's fine as long as it's gated and you can't have access. But let's say a playground, unless the playground is gated and you have to have access, which is, I don't, if that's the plan. But you don't want to have, let's say the playground not lit at night when you've got other amenities lit. And we had that problem at the soccer field for a while where the lights were on the fields, but the playground lights weren't on, and it did not stop the kids at all from playing on the playground because there was no restriction. The other thing is, I would like to see Carrie and the Parks and Rec team come back with a plan. You can maximize your revenue on, let's say, pickleball at night to run your leagues and that type of stuff. Adult leagues can go up until, some of the other leagues go until almost 12 o'clock at night in Collier County and other areas. Same thing, would be the plan I would look at for the soccer field use as well. The pool, on the other hand, if you had lights on, what revenue opportunity would there be, or what added benefit to the community? Would we have increased use at the pool, which could also align with rentals for the pool, all these different things. But I think what the board is saying, we don't have enough usage at the pool right now to warrant additional costs. But in the future, if we had more usage at the complex from a holistic
Then
spirit,
possibly.
then it might be financially feasible at that time if either it adds a benefit to the community that is wanted, or it provides revenue or some type of other opportunity for the district.
Both your and Bob's point, that's kind of been the mindset of the PrAC is, hey, let's let this get up and running for a little
Crawl
bit of
before we
time.
walk and walk before we run.
Exactly, and then see what the demand is, and it may not be a demand, but again, these are just options that we brought to the table. So the light,
Sure, if we're ever going to get outside pickleball teams. I mean, there's enough residents over here. You don't need them. I mean,
Well,
Pelican is.
and I think that's what my plan would be for Parks and Rec is for us to start managing and running leagues so we can actually turn some type of revenue profit.
Well, but
by
it's
having
all,
a
if
true
it's all,
program.
if it's all residents using the pickleball courts,
Your bigger deal is going to be how you're going to control usage. That's your biggest.
Well, that gets
That
back to-
requires,
to the
that requires a
scheduling.
warm body. Somebody's got to be out there, because you're going to have people, we have it at the country club. Somebody has the pickleball court from 9 to 11, and 11:30, they're still playing. And you got other people that want to get on. Who's going to do anything about it?
Yeah, who runs over their time? And,
Yeah.
it has to be managed because if all
I
things go
haven't
well,
seen
it
that
will
to
be very
be
busy.
a problem in Pelican in 20 years. People are pretty courteous about that. Now, that's not to say somebody might not be there that's not supposed to be there, but there's nobody waiting for their court.
so continue.
Monument sign at Commons,
So we actually have a proposal coming to you at the next meeting with some ideas and concepts. So we don't like you go into any administrative complex, you normally have a sign, a kiosk sign that says what's there. I know we've kind of talked about it in the past about potentially having it be digital. That way we could sell on there or update, if you guys have a board meeting today at 2, you have a normal session at 3. But Randy's been working on that project. We've got some concepts coming in front of you at the next meeting for your input.
With pricing, right? A fixed sign is one price. This digital with,
Rough pricing, estimate, budget pricing, yes.
but is this
estimate pricing.
sign for the building or for the park
The complex as a whole.
as a whole?
So if you do a digital sign, you could have it rotate, with
The messages.
the pickleball times and board meeting times and,
Events
facility
coming up.
events.
Just so I'm clear, so if you had your monument sign, you would have whatever the name of the Gateway Commons Administrative Complex, and then you'd have your digital sign?
It's kind of, it's one and the same.
Okay.
But we'll have this, but this is a cost that is not part of the current project. It is outside the limits of OAK's responsibilities, but we already have electricity out there, so, and then the contractor could pull the permit, but it really depends on your selection. But this, I believe this is a need, and it could be a revenue generator if you chose to go digital. Or we could do stationary, and that would be fine as well.
Is there going to be an entrance gate at the Commons?
Yes.
And you'll have to put your key card or something, or a code or something, or what?
It's a vehicle, well, it's a vehicle access gate, and it'll shut at dark. It won't necessarily be a fobbed access.
Oh,
So
so
we
it
open
isn't
during
every
the
time
day.
you go in and out?
It'll be open during the day, and then we'll close it at night.
Okay.
This that we're talking about, I thought
But
it's
how
just
are you
purely a
gonna keep-
monument.
She asked another question.
So anybody can come in at any time during the day?
Yeah, because, yeah. What if they don't have an access pass and they need to come to our administrative building, or if it's a contractor? It has to be
I
open.
think the question is to the park itself, Chelsea, because I believe they will be able to get in up to a certain point, and after that it will be the fenced area.
No, the only fence that we have proposed is vehicle access fencing. And that's at the front entrance, in and out, and then that's at the backside, the emergency access entrance.
But then you're still gonna have your access control at the pool. They're gonna need a card
Yes.
to that. They're gonna have your access control to go to the pickleboard. So, so I guess that's what you need to clarify, Carol. So they'll be able to go in, but they will not be able to utilize any of the Parks and Recs amenities, because for that specific amenity that they want to use, they're gonna need an access code or an
So
access control.
they could walk the grounds, but they wouldn't necessarily be able to access into the pickleball courts, because that's a fobbed access.
Well, this gets
Unless
back to,
somebody lets them in,
this gets
or they
back to my,
just follow right behind somebody else who just went in.
this gets back to my
Or-
question. If you were having a fee structure, somehow, some way, One, who's collecting it, where are they collecting it, and how are they enforcing it? The biggest one is how are they enforcing it. If there isn't a fence and a gate and a guard at the gate, you might as well not even have it, because they're just gonna come in. And anybody will come in, and then they'll be doing whatever they want to do. So I'd much rather take the monument sign and use it to buy fence first.
Ah, man, what's the point of
Right,
having a
is
park
it-
if you're gonna put a fence around it and require everyone to carry a fob or an ID, or like, if I want to send my
The rest of us are
16-year-old.
paying for it.
Yeah, but I mean, there's some controls that we can put into place that don't require us to put a fence around our park and to lock every amenity
That
down.
requires a body then.
It's cheaper.
It
Yeah,
requires a body.
we do. We have bodies today, and I'm not disagreeing that we need to control access. I'm just saying, let's not throw out the baby with the bathwater and lock everything down. So then it becomes such a pain in the ass to use the amenities that people get frustrated and they don't use them.
And again, Prac has had the mindset of let's operate it. If we do have people trespassing, we'll have park attendants there to help enforce. I'll be there. Laura, we'll have staff there from 7 to
How are they going
4.
to know, Chelsea, who is who? How are they going to know that?
Unless
you have a-
The Facilitron we're using Facilitron to book the
Well, we're
pickleball,
looking at a
potentially.
different program for same concept as Facilitron, where you rent the pickleball courts from this time to this time, but you'll have to have a fob in order to access those, and that would be issued at the administrative complex just like it is now, and at the pool.
Bob, to access the park or to access the amenities within the park?
Amenities within the park
So the pickleball court,
would access.
so it's got to be fenced then?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So like
John
those
Harry
types of
just
things
can't
will be
walk up
controlled.
and start playing, hopefully.
Again, there's all the nuances where somebody could let them in, they could trail in, yes, but it's going to be fenced, it's going to be fobbed.
Okay. Any other questions?
I have a
on the
question.
monument?
I do. I have a question. Hey, I guess this is for Laura. Laura, where is the cost for the district for a full-time, like what are we paying now for a full-time, I would just say maintenance, right? What is the cost of the district between 50 to 60,000, including insurance and everything else?
Probably
But it have to be a
yeah.
pool attendant, not a.
Yeah.
Okay, no,
it's
so
different
that's not,
class.
that's not my question. So,
Okay.
so I'm just going with the dollar,
bid.
right? So if it comes to it, we'll have somebody there 8 hours a day, $50,000 a year, and then we'll take care of everything else. A car comes in, just like how we go in federal parks. Your car comes in, there's 4 people, and you live here. Okay, there are no costs. You don't. It's $10, $15. Then they go in. If you can eliminate all that, if you don't want to fence everything and access everything, you just have one
Guardhouse.
employee that's going to be at that gate, and it will take care of all of this for us. So that's one thing. And then I want to kind of revisit the parking lot, because Doug mentioned this a few meetings back. We do have a huge opportunity and with parking. And I think, Doug, did you mention there's about 816 kids on soccer?
On average, there's 800 registered kids. So that means, let's say on a Saturday, if we use the math, 8 times 3, that's about what you're gonna traffic. You're gonna
20,
get
so
on it.
so that's what I was doing. So I did just for entire week. If we have 816 times, 2 vehicles, for the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, that's 2448. Then times that by the 52 weeks of the year, we're looking at almost $200,000 of income that we can get on parking on 3 days a week for $2, which $2 is extremely reasonable.
And it's not unreasonable to charge for parking. I mean,
Yeah, so I
almost
think
every
for,
weekend I've got to travel to some type of sporting event, and they're either charging parking to get in or admission into the park facility itself. It doesn't matter how you do it.
So that would help us in 2 ways. One, it will help us with bringing money in revenue to actually almost self-pay for that parking lot, right? And 2, it will also have people rethinking, instead of the grandparents coming in one car, the mom comes in another car, and then the aunt comes in another car. Maybe they'll come in one car, and then we won't have that so much of an overflow. But I really do think that we absolutely, regardless if we move forward or not with the parking lot expansion, that we should have a parking fee. I think $2 it's extremely low. But once you're crunching those numbers, and we're not even talking about flag football, we're just talking about soccer. That is a huge opportunity that we have there because it's 100% money that goes into us. Doesn't go to the leagues, it goes straight to us.
We don't need anything to start that, right? We can start that tomorrow if we want.
We can
Yeah, I mean,
start now. All we have to
The
do is a
logistics
public
you'd have to
hearing,
work out, but
public hearing,
we've got a
and
lead
amend.
in. You could actually set up even a tip, because they don't have some parks don't have an actual gate. You set up your temporary marker, and you can have one person at right about where our gateway, or just before the gate. Because you have to be careful too, because
Cue the truck onto the
queue
road.
up, because that's the last thing we want is to back up traffic. So it'd have to be something we either, so a lot of the facilities have moved to cashless. There's
by
a
phone.
QR code. You just scan the code.
County just did that.
Yeah, and it's super easy and quick, and it's not very complex. But I would start it on for flag, it would be Friday nights, and for soccer, it would be Saturdays. Start there. You've got your practice days during the week, but let's just see how it works on Fridays and Saturdays.
I can look into it. I mean, I managed beach and street enforcement when I was at the
Yeah, I mean,
beach, so.
yeah. And the
Schedule.
caveat would be if you, we'd have to also restrict parking outside, because
Have to have
and
somebody
if we make it
patrol and
affordable, let's say if
enforce.
it's $2, not a big deal. But if you park in the school, unless we have somebody set up over there, which we could, you could have actually two people. But you could
I can
park
see
over the school.
Go real quick, like saying,
Yeah, you could park it.
what's my share?
Yeah. Well, maybe it's
Well,
split the
there
revenue.
is going to be an interlocal agreement coming in front of you with the school for the use of their parking lot, but then get them using our soccer fields for play and emergencies and that kind of thing. So that's
So it's
forthcoming.
Well, if we instituted a program with a key fob or whatever, and you swipe your card, I wouldn't want it restricted just to flag or just to soccer. If you're coming to the complex and you're going to park,
anybody, Bob.
you pay your
Yeah.
$2, right?
Yeah, everybody. It would-
Anybody, at that point,
This
it'll
is
be
what
anybody that comes in.
Absolutely.
And I believe Zach is there. I believe all we need will
This
be a
needs some
public
more
hearing.
consideration, but that's an option.
But instead of spending time hashing through $2 for parking or whatever,
Right.
my thought was we were going to have this Parks and Rec plan and these options, and part of that plan would be we have an operating costs of X, we have a revenue opportunity of Y with options A, B, and C. How we would get to that is here's our cost for our leagues, here's our additional rentals, here's our parking fees, here's our program and league management fees. So it would be this comprehensive plan to get us to, because honestly, we don't really care where the revenue comes from, whether it's parking or extra league activity, we don't care. Our objective is to offset the operating costs.
Operate it at no cost.
And the capital improvements that are
Correct.
coming down the pike. So I don't really even care to talk about how the sausage is made, to be quite honest, unless it's tied to policy.
Let us skip down to the numbers because Laura's put those together already. And this was the start of that conversation. So
Okay.
Laura's gone over the last 5 years and looked at our income to expenses, and I'll let her explain the numbers.
All right. It was a little tricky because we switched from Facilitron or not Facilitron to Facilitron. So, and not everything was coded very clearly in the GLs. So some of the stuff I kind of took a stab at, but there were some things that were very clearly either dog park, pool, soccer, fun park, or just if it wasn't clear or if it was a combination of one or more of those things, I put it under Parks and Rec. So based on these numbers came from our financials. Combination of financials and Facilitron just to validate, especially for the income. You can see that we're making a little more on the dog park. So this much, about $38,000 over the last 5 years.
It's just revenue.
Revenues, the first one is revenue. It's not, well, I wouldn't say revenue. It's
I see,
revenue.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. And then the blue is what we spent.
Does this include capital?
It has some yes.
It does. So caveat that the numbers do include capital, some capital.
Some capital, yes.
So it's not strictly operating.
And then the stuff, so this would be our net down here, either income or loss. And
I don't understand how those numbers exactly the same.
What do you mean?
Expenses and the net income are exactly the same.
That's because there was no income. Pool is 0, 0, so expenses and net loss. It's a loss. So there's no income, so all of the expenses are a loss.
Okay, so if I take, for example, soccer 2025, expenses 380, income was 156, that's how you got to 224.
Correct.
P and R is the total of all of them?
Nope, that was just Parks and Rec.
Other miscellaneous
There
Parks
was
and Rec.
anything that didn't fall under one of those categories. So a dog park is
So
everything
those
I
have
could,
no income.
correct.
Is that employee costs in P&L?
No, that does not include wages.
So you guys asked for pretty much by these facilities. I mean, for me, Rod and I spoke about this earlier. We talked about at what percentage do we want to try to capture, right, and recover our costs. And if you're looking at these amenities, the fun park really doesn't have any revenue. The pool has minimal revenue compared to expenses. Believe it or not, your soccer complex and your dog park are at least making some money. I mean, it's not breaking even by any means, and I don't know that Parks and Rec will ever break even. Honestly, being at a 50% subsidy is, in my opinion, great. If you can get higher, that's ideal. We definitely know that we are not utilizing the fields to their fullest potential, especially during the days. A lot of the leagues are running at night. Carrie, we just talked about it this morning about tournaments, hosting tournaments here and blocking out those days. That's an opportunity. We're trying to reduce our shutdown over the summer. Starting talking about like doing a kickball league and managing that ourselves. Let's start small. But ultimately, most Parks and Rec facilities manage their programs and their leagues in-house.
So just to give you an idea what Chelsea was talking about as far as utilization, I pulled some reports from Facilitron. And assuming 365 days in the year that the facilities would be available from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m., and then taking out June, July, and August where we're closed, we're at about 13.5% utilization of the fields.
But you won't ever get that. So when you
Right.
say 8 to 10, you're really looking,
that's
if you're at 50%,
Yep, you asked me to look at hours
yeah.
available versus hours
Yeah.
used, so that's, I mean, realistic and actual,
Yeah.
so
So
but that's what I did.
Yeah, if we're
so
looking at 15%, you're saying 13% is our current
13.5.
usage?
Usage, yeah.
I'm looking at the 2026 budget, which shows the adopted 2025 expenses. And it shows for Parks and Rec, 921,689. What combinations of numbers, I couldn't do it at home. How do you get 921,689 off this sheet here?
It should pretty much line up that whole bottom part, and then it also includes salaries,
Oh,
which
the-
are
the-
not,
the
but
budget-
the budget includes salaries, which are not included in this.
Say what?
The wages, employee costs are not included in these charts.
In your charts?
Correct, but they
Why?
are in the budget.
It's cost. It's cost. Why isn't it included?
Because this was more actual cost per facility. I mean, we can put a number and say
All
it's,
costs in there. I'm paying for it.
but then
mean,
we'll
why
throw
do
it
we
into
need
Parks
it?
and Rec, because I don't know how much of the percentage of their time is spent at the Sherman Soccer Complex versus the pool.
Versus the dog park versus the fun park.
So we can lump that into Parks and Rec so you have full pictures.
I'm just saying, Chelsea, is that if I'm going to look at this, I want to look at all costs.
Understood.
Any cost that our owners are paying for needs to be included in the analysis. And if I'm looking at this in the budget and it shows that the year in 2025 was supposed to be around 921, I can't add any rows across for fiscal year 25 costs and come up with 921.
So where you would get it would be from, you would not count the pool column. It would be dog park plus soccer plus fun park plus Parks and Rec plus wages.
Well, I could go to the budget and pull the pool out. That's in
Well,
there
it's on the
separately.
sheet. Yeah, it's on the sheet.
And then the
So-
number jumps up even higher, like to 1.3, 1.4 million. I just want to compare apples and apples. I don't want apples and oranges.
Well, Parks
But
and
we
Rec
need
is a
all
separate,
costs.
Parks and Rec is a separate budget from the pool. It's two different areas
I
in the budget.
understand, but when we're doing the analysis though, of the soccer, that's the one that the requirement was, or the action was, the intent was to try to get 50%, preferably 75% revenue outside.
Compared to what our
like Doug
costs are.
said, from whatever sources. So what that says is that if we take and get 50 and 50% comes off 1.6 million, that means we're 800,000 still high. Where's it coming from?
And then that is the second part of the conversation of the opportunities for rental, for parking, for leagues, for running it ourselves. For the concession stand, that ITQ is going out if it's not already out. Again, additional potential revenue sources.
Okay, Laura, if I'm looking at the $380,597 for fiscal year 25 soccer expenses, okay, is that comparable to what 26 is going to be?
It depends on what we do. I'm not sure. I mean, there's a lot of variables. We had some irrigation issues.
We've adopted the budget. What does the
Right.
budget tell us?
But those are actuals. So I
I
don't,
understand, but what does the budget tell us?
I would have to look. I didn't calculate that out.
Is it close to that number
I
or
didn't,
not?
I'd have to look. I didn't include that.
And what year did Facilitron take over?
In May of 2023,
It's 400,000 higher total.
That has
It was
capital.
921.
but that has capital costs in it
Yeah, and capital
and
reserves.
bond stuff. So that's not, I didn't include the bond stuff.
So fiscal year 21 and 22 was pre-Facilitron.
Correct.
Under 200,000. And since then, now it's in the 300s.
Yeah, I just think the thing we need to do is see these numbers to where we keep them this, because we got to get that soccer somehow, both capital and operating, off to the side. Because that's one that we've already said, this is the amount of money we want to draw. We can still then look at the other three amenities, regular Parks and Rec, the pool and the dog park, and then make decisions of what we want to do on those as far as generating.
Yeah, well, not knowing
fees.
any more than looking at these numbers, it makes me question, why did we go to Facilitron? Is that in any way incorporated in why the cost jumped up so much? Because I thought we netted out free with that.
So the people renting pay our cost of using Facilitron. It's like a 10% fee for use. So
we don't lose anything.
we don't pay anything to utilize Facilitron. That's paid for by the end
And
user.
why is our cost up so much?
Because our rates increased. For our revenue rates increased. You guys set a 3-year plan 3 years ago. Each year we were increasing the hourly rate of the fields and the lights. And so our revenue has increased because our rates have increased.
Well, I'm only looking at the
the
expense portion of this. I'm just looking at the expense blocks. It went from 182 to 380.
Laura mentioned too, that this also includes capital in some of these line items.
We had a big irrigation.
Okay, we never
issue
had that
last
one
year.
pre-Facilitron. I'm just,
Yeah, we need to see.
yeah, I don't understand the
Okay,
numbers.
I see
You're
what
talking,
Want the
you're trying,
detail.
you're trying to understand the increase from
Expense,
From-
where did that come from?
2021.
Pre-Facilitron to post-Facilitron.
Yeah, well, Facilitron, I don't think makes it any difference.
Facilitron costs us zero.
Well, that's what I kept thinking.
Yeah,
But yet
Facilitron
somehow
doesn't
our
cost
costs have
anything.
Skyrocketed, I'm
The
just trying to
cost of
understand.
the costs, expenses to those facilities. So we went in 2021, we had $182,000 worth of expenses for the Sherman Soccer Complex.
Landscaping, mowing the field, striping the
Okay.
field, sod
Okay.
replacement, electricity, irrigation,
Good, I'll just call that a good baseline.
all of those kind of things.
We have a couple of other items we got to get to before.
All right,
our
well, the
time
next
is
year it's
up.
193, but now all of a sudden we're at 380. I mean, that's not a little bump up, that's a hell of an increase.
That's, what is that, sod replacement, irrigation?
Yeah, we've had a substantial amount
light-
of sod replaced, like $80,000
Light
worth of sod
maintenance.
each year.
Lights, yeah.
Obviously, those expenses aren't going to go down. So what is it, if we hold, and obviously, we did not even make the goal of 50% in any of these years. So if we're going to hold to that at least 50%, what do we have to charge?
That's, well,
Well, we're close. In soccer, our expense in 2025 is 156.
This doesn't
Total
have-
cost is 380.
But if this doesn't have labor, those numbers are meaningless.
That's right,
They're meaningless. The number's well over $400,000.
We don't have dedicated people to, what I think what we're trying to say is we don't have dedicated people to the soccer field. It's their Parks and Rec and they float. So you have to basically
But there's a portion.
amortize it across.
There's a
Yeah.
portion.
And I get what you're saying.
Okay.
We could get back to my timesheet thing. Where was I on that
Let's
day?
go on because we're running short. Replacement lights at Sherman Complex, my deal is on that is until we get somebody that's coming through and going to produce this 50% that we're looking for.
So with-
Don't even want to talk about that. We can use the existing lights.
With that, we agree. We can milk it. We just did a major upgrade, I think 2 or 3 years ago, and converting them over to LED. I think that is something that we can milk. If you ever contemplate doing a major change in construction of the fields, we can talk then with new wiring, because we all know the wiring is pretty antiquated everywhere in Gateway, but we can milk the lights that we have now.
Move dog park to commons, again, that's one as far as I'm concerned. We got a plan for it. I think it's phase 3. Let's wait.
Way down the road.
Wait till we get down the road on that.
So let me just say with that, if you proceed with doing the Sherman Soccer parking lot expansion, albeit paved or unpaved, that is where the dog park is.
Can't happen until we move the dog park.
So that's my question to the board is, are you requiring the dog park to be moved prior to that work happening? And going back to the numbers, we're talking, we have maybe 100 dog park users in a year, 100 dog park passes for the expenses of maintaining the dog park.
So there's 2 options there. Well, there's 3. We do nothing. 1, we put the parking lot in and table the move to when, at whatever time. So it doesn't have to be in sequence, or we sequence the move with the building of the parking lot, if we so choose to go that way. So it doesn't have to be done, or we could just eliminate it altogether. So there's actually 4 options.
Georgia said there, as of November 3rd, there's 118 dog park passes. And I don't know if that means that some people have 2, so I don't know if there's 118 unique or if it's just 118 total.
Or the other one is to do something as an amendment to the park, and instead of building the full phase 3 improvement that was in the plan, build something less to accommodate the
Pull
interim.
ahead.
Do what?
Pull it ahead of phase 3.
Yeah.
Put it in
Yes.
sooner, right?
Yeah.
And have that be the sole thing as part of that phase. That's absolutely.
Do we
an option.
need a dog park?
There's a lot of communities that are
118
removing
people
theirs.
think so.
Well,
118 people out of,
Well,
what,
but they're willing to
8,000?
pay. I mean,
Well, we looked at Stony Brook, we've looked into this, and I'm not on the committee that was looking into it, but I know the board did as well. They did extensive research around putting a dog park, and a lot of HOAs and communities are removing their dog parks because the risk and liability has just gotten so high, and compared to the amount of usage that they're actually seeing. So a lot of communities are pulling their dog parks out.
so where are the dogs pooping?
Well, I mean, you're not taking your dog to the
where they
dog
live.
park necessarily just to poop.
Just
Well,
where
but-
they live.
That's what they're gonna do when they're there.
Laura, what was the number you had on the dog park for 25, our
It's a
total
social
expenses?
thing, right?
I mean,
Dog
it's more
park.
Going
so-
back to that
Yeah.
sheet. So dog park is,
So let me caveat this. The way that we redid the landscaping agreement for 2025, it no longer breaks out the dog park and the fun park. Those are all included under Parks and Rec for the maintenance.
even if they two
so-
were together, you're talking $9,000-10,000.
Can you just tell me, like, ballpark, do you have the average from 2021 to 2025, what the expense of the dog park was on average?
Well, take that
5 into
67,000 divided by
My
5,
thing is
so
to delay it
13,
until we can
12.
get more
If you
information.
take 67,000 divided by 5, I mean, it's a little over 12,000,
12,000.
13,000.
But again, with the labor not being in there, whatever labor might be, it's.
And then relative to the turf options, we got to talk to these guys, find out if they're going to pick up the tab for 50% of this cost.
If you have 160
If they aren't going to pick it
people,
up, my deal is
$100 a piece
we don't do it. Just don't do it.
to cover the cost
They
of the
play
dog.
with what they got, and if they don't like it, go someplace else. You saw that the park,
no, it didn't.
and this is another one that
it becomes
blows my
self-funded, which is
mind.
the intent.
The county is
$1
buying
thing,
more
the
land
dog park's the
for
cheapest thing
parks.
we're talking about.
And yet they were telling us they don't want to do anything. And they just passed it the other day at their meeting. So I'm wondering if it's an opportunity to go back to the county and say, you want to reconsider purchasing our soccer fields? If you're going out and buying new ones,
Absolutely.
Yes.
Totally support that.
see what they say. Because something certainly changed because they even got the commissioners to approve the money for it. So the land they're gonna have to pay or.
Got to be a whole
buy-
lot cheaper to take this
It's
off our hands.
exactly right, to buy.
It's a win-win.
Yeah, I think it is too. So I would suggest staff make a phone call, see what they say. Let them, see if they say no again. If they say no, that they don't want it, then why in the hell
Then
are
why?
you going out and buying money or
So-
spending money on stuff that's gonna cost
What-
double or triple?
What I would encourage this board to, if you're giving that direction, that it needs to be board to board and not management to management because of the response that I received last time from management. So if this board is
I'll give
interested,
Cecil a call. That doesn't bother me. I'm just
saying-
was shocked is that they
Ed-
all of a sudden are putting money out to do exactly what they told us they weren't going to do.
what I'm suggesting is if the board was recommending to do that, I would be happy to draft a letter on behalf of the board and send it to their Board of County Commissioners from this board.
Do we need a motion for you?
Yes, but in the regular meeting, because it's a
Right.
workshop.
I know it's not now,
But
but
yes, yes.
We'll make a motion to do that, okay.
Anything else in the deal that you want to go over? The financing of all of this is that, is there any peculiarities on the financing in light of our new, what do you call it, assessment methodology?
So if you chose, so my understanding, and Zach, you can chime in, I talked to Tony about this in length. The bond validation was taken in front of a judge, and that was based on the old assessment methodology. So if you take out another bond series, it's based on the old assessment methodology, unless you choose to go through and go to the judge and hold public hearings and change the assessment methodology of how the original bond validation was done,
Or go 5 years or less?
or 5 years or less. If you chose to do 5 years or less, we could go do a bank loan, and it would be under the new assessment methodology because it is new debt.
Well, that certainly eliminates the expenses of the, what I
Of the
would call
methodology.
the soft costs associated with the methodology. Yeah.
There are still soft costs with going with a bank. It's just far less
Understand.
Than a bond.
than a bond series.
But there's more going the other route because we have to get the approval.
Exactly. But ultimately, there are options for funding sources what, if any, projects that you'd like to fund. And I know some of the discussions have been in the past that are, what other areas of opportunity are there to provide instead of just soccer fields? Carrie was doing a bunch of research on like a baseball diamond, if we were to convert one, like the last field into a baseball diamond. Again, these are all conversations that between staff and then the PrAC committee, we're doing research, they're doing their due diligence, they will make their recommendations to you as they discuss them. So,
We had asked for it one time, a month or so ago, to see an analysis of what the dollars are going to be for basically soccer only of all costs, capital and operating, to be able to know what are we going to these vendors, which would be the soccer leagues, the football, flag football, all of them, anybody that uses it, to see what kind of a dollar number, what are we trying to come up with? Like Carol said, we know it's not 380. It's a lot more than 380. So what is the number of which 50% is what we're asking for? I think that's the question.
yep, so we've got to go tweak and add in the staffing to this, and then we'll look at the current, to Carol's point, we'll look at current year's numbers and see what do we got to hit in order to, how many hours do we have to rent, or how many light hours do we have to rent to get the 50% number. So we're still crunching that.
Anybody else have anything else? Flavie, do you have anything?
So you'll have that for us at the next workshop?
Yep,
Are you still on?
she is, yes.
Flavie, do you have anything else?
Laura, can you also, on a monthly basis, can you just give us a trend of revenue generated per month over a 12-month period
Or
for the soccer field?
just soccer?
Yeah.
Okay. You want it, like, do you want me just to use the 21 through 25 for baseline, and then, or you want it just now going
No, you
forward?
can, it doesn't have to be every year. You can just do 24, 25.
And then I think
Because
the one,
the previous costs are irrelevant.
and the one you do, the analysis you do relative to capital, puts in all of those different capital items we talked about, the parking, the lights, the sod, all of the capital items, make sure that they see what those are over and beyond the operating. Okay. Everything else?
You're looking for detail.
I'm sorry.
You're looking for detail.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Anybody else have anything? Doug? Carol?
Are we even going to discuss the financing options on page 2? Is there any need to yet?
I think until you decide what, if any, projects that you want to proceed with, I think that's a little premature.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, at least on the soccer-related stuff, until we get some idea what these guys are going to come back and say and what our opportunities are. 50% is a big wad to swallow,
Oh, yeah.
I would say.
Well,
Probably a hill we can't get over.
Again, if I was doing this, I would at under current state, what our total operating expenses are, what we would need to do to break 100% even, 70, 50, 30, and then look at the options for that, whether it's in-house. How do we do it if we were to go outside? Let's say if we bid the fields out, like we kind of did that a couple of years ago. There was an entity that wanted to outright lease the fields for multi-year at X amount per year, because the improvements could be dependent. It's just like if you had a commercial building and you wanted someone to come in, they're either going to say, I will lease it as is, or I will lease it, but you've got to
Upgrade, whatever.
You've got to put in partitions and you got to do all that stuff. So us even agreeing on lights or whatever, we only have to have that conversation if we continue, either we manage in-house or we run the status quo as we do today, which is we lease from an individual league perspective. Because nothing's requiring us to do anything right now. The only time that I think we would be required to do something is if we were going to, at 100%, lease the fields out, or if we were to hand over to the county, just like they do on the roads. Well, we'll take it over, but you got to improve the lights. So those things. So us talking about projects, really, that is tabled until we determine whether we're going to continue managing in-house, whether we manage we take over the leagues, manage them in-house, or we continue to sub them, versus actually bidding them out for total management or more like a holistic lease, and someone else is going to control all the fields.
And all the capital expenses.
The issue is if you take all that capital of what we're talking about, which would be the parking, the lights, and the sod, you're looking at a little bit over $3 million bucks. You did finance that's 300,000 plus interest every year. That is a chunk of change to add to 300 to 400,000 of operating costs.
Well, I will
Of which
say-
you take 50% is one hell of a number. If somebody comes in and says they'll do that, and you've got a 10-year loan, you've got to have a 10-year deal with them. And I think you're dreaming. It's not going to happen. They're not
love it
going
to
to give
happen,
you that
but it
deal,
ain't gonna happen.
which gets us in a position of you're not going to get to that position. But we got to start from that's what we're attempting to do. Then we make the decision, are we going to do it? Or we just basically say, if you like that grass now, you'll like it in 5 years from now.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I don't think we truly realize the value of the asset that we're sitting on. I mean, I know clubs that are looking to buy facilities and to build them out, and their bottom line funding starts around $2.5–3 million.
Are they debt financing it themselves, or are they
they're-
borrowing money to pay off the debt?
There's a couple different funding options.
That's what I
there,
figured
but-
some of them might do.
But I mean, just to net build something out, one, to find property is challenging right now, at least in a desirable area. Two, to build it out. I mean, so that's why I think
Well, should we entertain getting proposals from somebody that may want to
Well,
buy
I think
it?
that's what we
Well,
we
what
gotta
I'm
have
saying is,
numbers
like,
before we do that.
what I'm
That's the
saying
problem.
is, it's, handing it over to Lee County is giving them an asset.
Well,
that's gonna
when I say
but-
handing,
but-
I
No,
didn't
let me
put
finish,
dollars
let me
into it, but
And I'm not saying necessarily selling, but we could be leasing these fields at there could be a possibility.
You come up with a lease that equals 50% of it, I don't care what you call it.
Well, at that point, it wouldn't be 50%. At that point, we're not leasing at 50%.
We're
We're leasing at 100%. As a matter of fact, I try to do it 110,
If you could do that,
120%.
that'd be
So we're
fantastic.
generating positive revenue flow.
So we did
Sounds good to me.
research, last thing, because I know the normal session starts, but we did reach out, not Lee County, Collier County did that at one of their facilities. And we called them to get their input on it. I got actually the actual bid documents that they put out, so we have those. From what we were told was it worked great in the beginning, but then the fields, it wasn't held to their standard.
Yeah.
They ended up canceling the agreement and basically taking everything back in-house and managing it themselves.
Yeah.
We're
Well,
after-
and that's where in the country you have to have, you know,
Okay, we're,
stipulations around
after
that.
our-
But yeah, that is, will most likely happen, is the property will be deteriorated over time.
Yep.
After our 3 o'clock, we got a lot of stuff you guys are going to report back to us on.
Yep.
Okay, let's take a 5-minute break and resume at 3:10 and hold the regular meeting.